Hello, Sam. Let me start today by saying one thing that doesn't slay and should be changed is recording in progress.
It really should. I feel like it could be just a lot friendlier. I feel like it could be like
it could be softer.
Vibe, we're recording. You ready?
Vibe, recording. You can make it really funny.
Are the group aware?
You do little booster packs, recording I am, and such.
You could make it like the ood where you get, all the better for seeing you.
Oh, so go again. The ood.
You know the ood, in Planet of the Ood, when they're like, and the ood come with different voice packs, and then it's like, after a long day, one for the gentleman, and it's like, how are you doing, ood? All the better for seeing you. Do you not remember that? I don't
remember that at all.
We need to do Planet of the Oods, and then the other one, it's like, and one for the kids, and then it's like, ood, you dropped something, and then it goes, dough, and it does a Simpsons dough.
I don't remember that. How funny.
When was the last time you watched Planet of the Ood?
It's been a while. And speaking of Series 4 bangers, we're doing one today. Pretty mega banger. I think this is probably it's in the top 4. I don't know where exactly it ranks in terms of kind of like fan faves, but today we're doing Turn Left.
Mm-hmm. Where are you going?
Left.
Where's this fucking beetle on my back?
Yeah, it's a really good one. I don't know exactly how I rank this and the 2 episodes that follow. Whether or not this is a 3-parter or the prequel to a 2-parter.
I've always considered this a 3-part. I think that since series 3, they did a lot of 3-part. I consider Utopia, Last of the Time Lords, and that all was a 3-parter, and then this is a 3-parter.
This is, so basically this is the start of the end of arguably one of the best ever series of Doctor Who.
I agree.
In my view, that's my opinion. It is probably the best series of Doctor Who for me.
Yeah.
For me.
I feel like I love series 2 probably as much, but I can objectively say I don't think series 2 is as good. I think I just have a lot of nostalgia for it. Whereas series 4, again, for me, I arguably think it's one of the best series of Doctor Who ever.
For me, let me speak off the cuff.
Okay.
Series 2, great series, beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns. It has a certain je ne sais quoi, but that quoi is a tackiness for me. That Series 4 has a slightly more refined sheen. They've given it a once over.
It had cooked for a bit.
It cooked for a bit.
Listen, my mother's cooking. And she cooked. And by Series 4, it was what was it that Jackie said, the doctor, he could eat safety pins or something. The safety pins had cooked.
Yes. So I think without further ado, we're ready to jump into this one. We've got quite a lot to say about it. I mean, we want to watch Big Brother tonight.
We do. Oh, this is the other thing now. We have to really plan Wholala around Big Brother because we normally would record Wholala if we're recording an evening at 8, half 8. And then we have been known to record Wholala up until 11 p.m. having started 8, half 8. And now we kind of have a strict TV time of 9 p.m. where we're going to have to watch Big Brother. I've never watched a series of Big Brother before. This is my first one that I'm watching live, and I've got to say I'm enjoying it.
Me neither. I've only ever watched Big Brother clips. I've seen so much Big Brother content. My boyfriend was a Big Brother watcher and watched the feeds. I've never been that person. No. I think it just wasn't on in our house. My parents aren't Big Brother people. But I'm excited to dive into this. I found that often with reality TV, the more you put in, the more you get out. And if you're willing to commit, often you do get the payoff.
I agree.
Sometimes with Love Island, I've had that. But in more recent years, Love Island, I felt has stopped paying off. And the formula has become very tired.
I've never seen a single episode of Love Island. I'm sorry.
It's got very stale.
I've not seen it. Stale. Were you as jarred as I was? Because again, I've only ever seen clips of Big Brother when they played the theme tune. And it has not changed since the original Big Brother. So the clip from Doctor Who, when the Doctor realizes he's in the house, it's the exact same song. Down, and I literally
it's had a little bit of a remix. It's had a slight
redo. And I literally was
gorgeous.
I was like,
it's
whoa,
such a banger.
This is series 1.
Objectively, let me say something dangerous for a Doctor Who podcast. Big Brother has got a better theme song than Doctor Who. Sorry.
That's okay. You're allowed to be wrong.
Oops. One of the best moments, best cold opens in Doctor Who, we tweeted it this week, is the opening. I've forgotten the name of the episode now. It's one of the Parting of the Ways? Bad Wolf? I think it's Bad Wolf.
It's Bad Wolf, yeah.
Bad Wolf, Series 1, episode something near the
12.
end. 12.
Just
and you get a
nice 12.
12. It's a great cold open. Christopher Eccleston wakes up as the Doctor, obviously, not as himself, in the Big Brother house. And it's one of the best campus openings ever. And it's like, will the Doctor come to the diary room? You are live on channel 44,000. Please do not swear. That was not a good Davina impression. But, so, she sounds like a robot. That's why I did that. But it's so good. So good.
It is very, very good. So we've got to get ready for Big Brother at 9, which means that we've got to dive into talking about today's episode, which is not Series 1 episode Capaldi. It is Series 4, episode 11, Turn Left.
Turn Left.
Turn Left. Very exciting.
This one aired on the 21st of June, 2008. Should we do a quick age check? I was 12.
I would have been, in June, I was 11, I would have been 11.
Baby.
Little baby.
We often say, I've known you for 4 years, right? 4
is it only 4? Yeah, no, it is. But 2019 I met you, so 4.
But the way that we talked about our youth now, I mean, coming up to next week is 1 year of Wholala, which is mental to me that we've done this every week for a year. We've had maybe 2-3 weeks off in a year.
We take a break between seasons. It'll be the Wholala anniversary episode will be episode 50 of Wholala.
It's crazy.
I know.
You could call that the 50th, babe. Could.
You could.
And it feels like we've known each other since the playground.
I always say that to people. I feel like you're a childhood friend of mine because
I feel like you're a childhood friend of mine.
Spoken about our childhood so much and also gone through so much of like generational trauma that I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's one of my oldest friends. I consider you my oldest friend, and then I realised that like you never even knew me at university. Like that's wild to me. That's wild that we did our whole uni experiences and didn't know each other.
It's crazy. I'm not someone who like loves meeting new people. I'm just I'm oddly shy in that way. I like when I've broken the ice, I like seeing people I've already met before. Like I'm not completely antisocial, but meeting new people I always find a bit intimidating. But so I'm amazed that like you're a new addition, Sam.
That I like stuck around. I thought you were gonna be like, I'm amazed I didn't get rid of you.
You're a very personable person though. If I ever take you anywhere, you're friends with the whole room like right away.
You can leave me in a crowded room, which is weird because I mean, not to therapize on the pod, I was such a shy kid. Like you would never believe. And then if you meet me now, I'm like the most outgoing person that you know.
You won't shut up.
The
other night, I took you out. You took me out.
I did take you out.
And within about 5 minutes, I recognised that person. I'm going to go and say hello. Like,
no, but not even from like TV. I was like, they're in a Disney show. I'm going to speak to them. And you like grabbing me. You're like, don't do it. Don't do it. And I was like, no, talk to him.
Leave him alone.
You know what was happened? It was fine. I'm not going to go up to him and be like, I know you from TV. I like complimented his dancing. It was great.
You did. And I just turned away.
Yeah, you did. Rude. You started walking out. I was like,
I started leaving.
I was like,
I wasn't trying to be rude. I was just like, I don't know what to do.
I was like chatting with him, and he was like actually making conversation. Turn around, I was like, "Where's Alasdair gone?" You left.
I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. This is not painting me in a good light at all. I promise.
You know your limits. You were like. I feel like if I'd have stuck around, it would have been like a bit too far.
I was done for the night. I was done for the night. I was very tired. I wasn't being rude.
Thursday.
I was
you weren't being rude. It was
I was just slinking out of the door.
Yes, you are.
What's that? An Irish exit? A French exit? What? How many exits? It doesn't matter. Turn left. Turn left.
We're going left. Well, listen. Turn Left came out on the 21st June 2008, directed by Graham Harper, who has directed and this is a professional quantity, a buttload of Doctor Who. We're talking Rise of Cybermen, Age of Steel, Army of Ghosts, Doomsday, 42, Utopia, Time Crash, Planet View, Unicorn the Wasp, Turn Left, Stolen Earth, Journey's End, Waters Mars. I'm reading off a list, as you can tell. He's done a lot of Doctor Who.
Yeah, he has.
And written by Russell T Davies, as he would write for the finales of Doctor Who. This received a viewership of 8.1 million, which I think is the highest position a regular episode of Doctor Who had ever achieved to this date.
That's
because people knew that Rose was coming back. When I was tuned in. Let me tell you this.
I was tuned in.
And received an 8.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which I think could be higher. Be higher. It's a very good score. Could be higher in my view.
And he didn't mention as well, Graham Harper directed a couple of your faves, Temptation of Sarah Jane Smith and Enemy of the Bane.
He did do a couple Sarah Jane Adventures episodes. I feel like before Sarah Jane had fully formed itself into its own show, they brought quite a lot of Doctor Who people onto it. And we watched recently a behind the scenes studio tour that Freema Rajaman did circa like in between series 3 and series 4, and she says she's like, so this is the floor where we do Doctor Who, but I also know they do Sarah Jane just in the room over there. So that I think especially at the beginning it was very like symbiotic.
Like, we might as well borrow you for the afternoon if you're here.
Exactly.
If you wouldn't mind popping next door.
It's funny, I think his like last ever Doctor Who thing he directed was the Sarah Jane Adventures, which I find funny.
Yeah, interesting. So we're going to try and recap this one. This episode has got pace. It does not stop moving. It goes.
It's 4 years of Doctor Who storytelling in one episode.
In 45 minutes, it's pretty unreal how many jumps we make. It's a fantastic episode. I think somehow for a casual viewer, it still is a fun episode, which I know is something that Russell T Davies was very concerned about when writing this. My close personal friend, Russell, he let me know.
Friend of the pod?
Okay, that's friend of the pod, Russell T Davies. Let me know that this was something Wikipedia tells me that this is something he was conscious about.
Oh, it's all coming out now.
Yeah, something I was surprised about is that my flatmate I had it on earlier doing a rewatch and I was like, I like this. It's a good episode. I'm like, girl, I don't know how you're enjoying this with no context. But I also showed this one and the 2 episodes right after it to my boyfriend and really enjoyed it as well, and like doesn't remember really any Doctor Who. So really surprised how much they were all able to jump into it and enjoy it. So
I keep trying to convince my boyfriend to watch it.
Right.
He didn't grow up in the UK. I keep trying to convince him to watch it. And he's watched some Doctor Who with us, but this one and the ones following it, I was like, you have to watch these. It's the best. But I'm kind of glad I didn't show him this one. I'm going to try and get him to watch the next 2 when we do the rewatch for Wholala, because if you aren't like well aware of what's happened in the last like 4 series or between, the Runaway Bride and now, you might be a bit like, what the fuck is going on with like, why is the Titanic falling from the sky and why does Donna have to move to Leeds? Yeah.
That was one of the questions that came up today. It's like, sorry, wait, why is the Titanic? How did it destroy London? And
you're like, don't worry about it.
Are there nukes in the Titanic? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Well, look, for anyone who hasn't seen this episode in a while, as always, I just say go watch the episode. It's on iPlayer. It's free. Well, I mean, TV license, but go watch the episode. But if you haven't seen it in a while or want a little refresher, here is a recap of the episode.
This episode opens with the Doctor and Donna enjoying an alien market, and they soon get separated when a fortune teller offers to tell Donna her future. This quickly goes south when we realise that the fortune teller is changing Donna's past. By simply making her turn right on the way to a job interview, she never meets the Doctor, culminating in the Doctor's death.
And in a world without the Doctor, all of the events he prevented end up happening, with many of his friends and companions doing their part to stop them and dying in the process. Martha, Sarah Jane Smith and the Bannerman Road crew all die on the moon trying to stop the Plasmavore. The Torchwood team die at the hands of Sontarans, and Captain Jack is transported to their homeworld. Through all of this, a mysterious blonde woman appears to Donna and helps keep her alive. Though she's a stranger to Donna, she is well known in the Doctor universe. Rose Tyler has returned.
Donna's life is ripped apart as London is destroyed by the Titanic crashing to Earth, making her family refugees. Things keep getting worse, culminating in concentration camps in the UK and Wilf watching the stars going out. Donna finally agrees to go with Rose to UNIT to try and set the timeline right. They show her the time beetle on her back and use the power of the dying TARDIS to send her back to the day when she turned right. However, just as she's about to travel through time, Rose tells Donna that she's going to die. Donna realises the only way she can stop herself from turning right is by stepping in front of a lorry and causing a traffic jam. In doing so, she successfully sets her destiny on the right path. Rose whispers something to the dying Donna to tell the Doctor.
Back in reality, Donna's reunited with the Doctor and tells him what happened. She remembers the blonde woman and her parting words, and to the Doctor's horror, they are Bad Wolf. They run back to the TARDIS, seeing warnings of the Bad Wolf everywhere. What does it mean? The Doctor says it's the end of the universe. Ooh. Dum-ba-da-dum, 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 dum-ba-da-dum. What a corker. What a corker of an ep.
What an absolute corker. I love it. So, if I may jump in with a high right off the back of that.
Go for it.
Is that in amongst this, crazy, chaotic story, it somehow doesn't feel too hard to follow what's happening to the family as they kind of progress through all of this, which for me is all summed up when they are watching the TV in their little house in Leeds with this other family, and they're seeing 60 million Americans dissolve into fat, and Wilf just goes, aliens. And Donna goes, yeah. It's like, yeah.
I know.
And for me, what I love about this episode, and I think as well about shows like Years and Years, that Rusty Davies has almost like explored this in a bit more, is that underneath this very like campy, sharp, funny, colourful, saturated Doctor Who world, there's also like underneath this like things will always be okay, and trust in the power of friendship, and trust in the power of like never being cruel or cowardly and always doing the right thing. There's also this like deep cynicism about like what happens when humans are left to their own devices and the very worst of our nature. And that really culminates in like, without the Doctor in the universe kind of zipping about and putting things right, like we end up opening labor camps and the stars go out because the Daleks win. And it's really dark. Like it's a very bleak, it's a very bleak narrative kind of running through this. But like one of the most chilling lines in kind of Doctor Who ever is Wilf saying like, labor camps is what they called them last time. It's happening again. And I think all of this, like for me, and the way that the characters deal with these insane things happening around them, is that Doctor Who is not really about like the monsters and the aliens and the Titanic crashing from space. It's about like the characters at the core of it and how they cope with this batshit world that is happening around them. And that's what's so great. It feels like somehow, despite like the insanity of everything happening, it feels like a grounded story. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think completely agree. Two things off the back. One, I think that Wilf's, like Bernard Cribbin's performance in this episode is just stellar. I genuinely cannot watch that scene where he's talking about the labour camps without tearing up a little bit. And I remember watching it when I was younger and not fully understanding. I remember like having a moment where he said like, that's what they called them last time. And I thought he was referring to something that happened in this series. And I was like, what did I miss? And I felt like I was sharing in Donna's ignorance, because you can like, she doesn't know history like that. But it's the bit where he says like, it's happening again. And Colasanto knows that he knows, and they just have like a mutual understanding, and it's so harrowing. But yeah, no, I think that this episode precedes some ones that have a lot of joy. Like there's a lot of like threat and danger in the following episodes, but I feel like a big space opera with Daleks and all the companions coming together. It's a lot more of like an adventure, like a fun adventure for the audience anyway. And I feel like it's a really harrowing concept to be like, what is the world without the Doctor? And that's one thing I really love about this episode, is that it doesn't shy away from the horrors of that. And that scene you said about where they're watching the news and Wilf's just so, he doesn't really have any, he's been so distraught, he's been so upset, his whole world's been torn apart, as is the whole family, and he just goes, aliens. And they're like, yeah. Another scene that really strikes this for me is the scene where the Titanic crashes, where the Voyage of the Damned, as we've spoken about in the episode Voyage of the Damned, it's quite a fun episode despite the stakes. Like pretty much everyone on the ship dies. There's a horrible like companion death at the end of it. Like it's quite a harrowing adventure, but it's quite a fun like ride.
It's quite still fun.
It's still quite fun. And Kylie Minogue's in it. It's great. But when you see what happens if the Doctor hadn't been there, I think it's one of the most harrowing things that's happened in Doctor Who, where Donna can't quite understand what's happening. She's saying, it's a sequel, like what's going on? And Wilf, another great scene from Bernard Cribbins, where he just looks at that window and goes, oh, God rest their souls. And suddenly they're, like you said, they're refugees, and they're having to be like deported all around the country. And then that, leads into them moving to Leeds. Why does Donna hate Leeds? What did Leeds ever do to Donna?
What did Leeds ever do
what did Leeds do? And then, it eventually ends up in the reformation of labour camps. And it's taking, like you said, you don't need the aliens and the threats and the monsters. They very much are a sideline of this story. You're just really seeing how humans react to what's happening. And it's very, like, emotionally weighty.
I'm impressed by how well they managed to balance the humour all the way through it. Like, even down to, oh my God, like there's a star outside and it's shooting people in the street. And it's like, what the hell is that? And then someone chimes in, Ken Livingstone, that's what, spending our money. It's like,
on decorations, how much did that cost?
How much did that cost? And this is like never a break from like, even like when the Titanic hits and nukes London, it's like, what, like a sequel? And it's like
just
constant.
Before that, there's that whole thing where Donna's like, I always wanted to go for a walk on Christmas. Walk first, presents later, yeah? Like, it always balances it, yeah.
It's really impressive how they do that. I would love to, again, like go back and interview my child self and say like, girl, how are you coping with this? Because the terror of your childhood hero being dead, even just for the episode, is crazy. Like, and not just the Doctor, even though we like see like the Doctor's limp dead hand like drop out the side of, you know, an ambulance or whatever, and then, you know, and that's like scary enough. And then all your other faves are dead too. Like Martha's dead.
The bit
and
with Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane's dead, and they show it on like a BBC News report that looks realistic. The kids are all dead. Clyde is dead. Maria's dead. They name them Clyde. Yeah, it's just...
My parents used to say they hated when BBC News would put BBC News in Doctor Who because they felt like it kind of I think maybe for the kids, it blurred the like reality a bit too much. And they have like a whole proper report on Sarah Jane dying, and like it really does show like how much danger she's putting the kids in her show. So then when, you know, the episode's wrapped up and we go back to watching the Sarah Jane Adventures at like, 12 years old, you're like, they're all gonna die. And then they meet a Sontaran in the next episode, like, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, bold move to do a what if for 10 to 12-year-olds where all of your heroes are dead for the episode.
It's okay, Rose is there.
Bar Donna and Rose, everyone else is dead, and it's strong. It's a very, very strong concept. What if the Doctor was dead? Very, very good.
I know.
What if the Doctor didn't make it? Then what? Then what would happen?
The world would go to shit, and they'd, you know, start labour camps again. Apparently,
yeah.
To segue to a slightly lighter note than that, though, talking about Rose, I think this is the most iconic Rose outfit that she's ever worn, and I'll stand by that.
I was going to say I've got a number of things to say about Rose. I don't want to like steal the mic too much, but
you will.
So much to say, but I will. Rose is kind of my bag. Billie Piper, kind of my thing. So let me say first of all, coolest return ever. I will get to the jacket. Don't let me diminish the jacket because that's absolutely on my list. Do you want to talk about the jacket first? Would that make you feel better?
I want to talk about the jacket because I love the jacket.
I wanted that jacket so badly, and I had year 8 maybe, like a brown. Yeah, that's not so good. A brown, similar looking jacket from like, I don't know, it wasn't even super dry.
How much did you wear this jacket?
Quite a bit. And I think it was similar enough that someone had said at school, like, oh, it's like the Rose jacket. You know, it wasn't like shiny leather, but it had like the same kind of like, you know, like the stretchy material at the bottom.
I was just going to say the stretchy like cuffs in the bottom.
The cuffs, yeah, that was it. I'd still wear it. I'd still wear that. If I found the purple one now and it was semi-affordable.
I feel like it's blue. I will say that. I think it's a blue jacket.
Okay.
No, but if I saw that somewhere...
Let's not get into this gold dress, black and blue.
We're not doing that. Woo! That's a different podcast. But I have never done a Doctor Who cosplay for Halloween or anything. But if I found that jacket, you best believe I would be bleaching my hair, but with like that like brown parting in the middle. I would find the like pinky purple t-shirt to wear underneath it. Like it would be on. It gave me a similar colour palette to, and I know Rose never saw this, but to when Ten used to wear the blue suit with the purple t-shirt underneath. Like he sometimes didn't wear the tie. Like it was giving me that kind of colour palette.
And I wonder if that was intentional because in a few ways, let me segue to this point.
Rose is the Doctor of the episode.
She feels like the Doctor of the episode for sure. She has got a maturity now that feels like more than a few years have passed. It feels like for her 5 years have passed somehow now, and that doing whatever she does every day at Torchwood Unit, whatever it is, in her world, she is a real experienced equivalent to the Doctor now. She doesn't seem remotely weirded out by the fact that she is canon hopping universe to universe to universe, and that she is responsible for saving Donna's life and nudging her towards the timeline that will take her back to the Doctor and prevent this parallel pocket universe from existing. She seems fine with that. It doesn't seem to like rattle her at all, and it's not like unbelievable that it doesn't. It's like,
I love when she's like, it's in a state of flux, and then Donna's like, what does that mean? She's like, I don't know, it just sounds like something the Doctor would say. Like,
you liar,
you told me I was special.
And that as well, like, so unreal to not only have a companion back and steal the spotlight and be like the thing that gags you when she steps back on screen, And it's like, Rose is here. You know, every time Donna turns the corner and Rose is there, it's like,
It's Rose.
But her there and naming other companions, you know, Gwen Cooper, Yonto Jones. I'm like, she knows them. She knows them.
I know.
I really remember that feeling. Like Rose knowing about all my faves.
Yeah.
You know, like naming other people.
With retrospect, and I get why they didn't, because I know how it would have been more difficult to fit her into this episode. I wish there was some way they could have incorporated Martha into this episode, because even with the episodes that follow this, which we'll get into another episode, I feel like we were robbed of a proper scene of the three of them, because I feel like the Rose, Martha, Donna trio is like the golden trio of the RTD era. And like, though they're like in the TARDIS together in like later episodes and stuff, I feel like just a scene of like, I think it would have undermined the whole thing about Donna Noble being the most important woman in the whole of creation. So I completely respect why they didn't do it. But if there was some way that Rose could have like nudged Martha towards as well. I mean, Rose doesn't even know who Martha is. So when she sees Martha in the Subwave Network later, she's like, who's she? I'm trying to get through. So I completely get why they didn't. But I just feel like one scene of the three of them together would have been so good. But yes, no, I do love hearing her talk about all the other companions.
I think Martha was owed some, once again, we've talked plenty about like how Martha was owed so much more than she got, but she was definitely owed some proper screen time, I think, talking to Donna and talking to Rose, which we just didn't get. And it was strange that it was, I guess, with hindsight, only Rose and Donna speaking. However, the roles that they play in this episode I like so much, just being the two of them, because Rose almost plays this like spooky prophet who is like, you're gonna die, you need to be sure because you're going to die. And it's like, whoa, like not only is she back and like talking about like, oh, that up there, that was this. Oh, that happened last week. That wasn't meant to happen, you know, and it's like, has this knowledge of things, which is quite scary in itself, and has this like total assuredness about what needs to happen next. And, you know, Donna's like going off to her death and she's like doing the doctor's, I'm sorry. And it's just so like,
literally just about to say that, like they're writing her dialogue like the doctor. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
And then Donna being the one who like ultimately is so vulnerable, but has to make the choice herself, like can't be forced to do anything. And Rose is like the one kind of like leading her to the slaughter, is a pretty cool dynamic. I think almost, was there a third party in the know, it would almost feel too safe. And it feels like the stakes are really, really high for the two of them, just the two of them. It feels like them like having a conversation on a park bench about kind of like the fate of the universe. You know, it feels risky. Like it's not a sure thing that they're going to make it. And I like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the dynamic between Rose and Donna in this episode just works so well because it's so reminiscent of the Doctor and the Companion, but also I think that it's really necessary for Donna's character at that point. We get, like, not to take any light away from Billie Piper, love the gal. Love the gal. Catherine Tate needs to be given some kind of award. I'm not sure if she ever won the awards, Doctor Who. She might have, I'm not sure.
I don't know, actually.
But her acting in this episode, the range she has, like the funny that she has when she's like, "Oh, Punch, you know, I'd leave you the mouse mat bum. Why'd you cut yourself?" And like that kind of humor in the same episode as where Rose is telling her that, you know, there's the time beetle on her back and that's what's causing all this, and she's like, Donna's shouting all this episode, "Pop your clogs, fear a duckworm," like to the woman in Leeds. But then like when she's being told that and she's like shouting from like her chest, like there's the Donna shout when she's angry, and then there's this like raw like, "You liar, you told me I was special, I'm just a host." And then we also, it births, I think, one of my favourite ever lines from Donna where she goes, "Yeah, well, blonde hair might work on the men, but you ain't shifting me, lady." Like, it's so good. And I just think her emotional range is so good in this episode, and I think it really does highlight some of the best Catherine Tate acting in Doctor Who. I'd say like on par with like Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead, and then the finale of the series. And it's just, like you said, this episode is so fast paced and so much happens, but I never feel like we as the audience are being left behind. And I think a lot of that is down to Donna, because Rose pops in and out. Like Rose appears and then she literally like fades away, so she doesn't have to have that kind of like hand holding for the audience. We're so used to sort of, you know, Doctor Who, the revival, we saw through Rose's eyes. The first episode was called Rose. We were following the journey, learning about the Doctor through Rose. And now, like you said, it's interesting because I think Rose has grown so much and developed, and like you said, I could fully imagine it being more time for her especially with all the new Big Finish stuff where she's dimension hopping for quite a while. She's further ahead than we are. The Doctor even says that her universe is further ahead than we are, and she isn't the person we as the audience are looking at this story through anymore. She is like someone that comes in and visits.
She's the guide now.
She's the guide. So
which is
Donna
cool.
is the one that we have to have the handheld through. And I think that Catherine just really, really is a powerhouse in this episode.
Yeah. And she shows like the frustration of that so well, and like the burden of like, why is it me? Why have I got to do this? And it's not,
I'm nothing special.
And it's not even like from a place of like, oh, I just don't believe I'm that special, really. But also from a place of like, you know, I like genuinely don't believe I'm that great. But also like, why is it me in the sense of like, why do I have to die to put things right? Like, I didn't even meet the Doctor. This is such a pointless fate for me to have to face, because I truly haven't done anything unusual in my life that would have created this. So it's a really interesting position for Donna to be in as well. There's a few other things I want to say about Rose, if I may.
Back to Rose, it's okay.
One thing I noticed about Rose, a weird parallel that I'd never picked up on before for whatever reason, is that twice she's involved in horrible road accidents. Once she has to go to her father's side when he goes to get hit by a car to set the timeline right, and she has to hold his hand while he dies. And then again, she has to go to Donna's side and whisper in her ear and hold her hand while she dies to set the timeline right. And then the next episode, she runs to the Doctor's side and he dies in the road while she holds his hand.
Oh my God, I've never put all that together.
It's interesting as well. Like, it's, I guess, like the slight tragic twist for Rose is that all of these things are always fated as well. Her dad has to die and it can't be prevented because it creates a paradox. She has to watch her father step in front of the car and kill himself. Like, that has to happen. And Donna has to step in front of a lorry and smack her head on the ground and die, and that has to happen, and Rose has to be the one to send her there. And even with the Doctor's death, you know, and then he, you know, ultimately doesn't die, he regenerates back into himself. It's all fated by, you know, Dalek Khan being like, oh, there will be another
The children of time will gather, and one of them will die.
Oh, excellent, just as Dalek Khan foretells. Oh, but this is too perfect. But it's just weird. It's a weird thing. Is there a point there? Other than, like, it's a funny parallel I'd never noticed before. I feel we need to also talk a little bit about the lisp that, for me, I'm obsessed with. I don't want to make fun of Billie Piper because...
It was dental surgery.
It was allegedly cold. She probably had a little bit of work done, as actors do. It's not a big deal. People are allowed to get work done. I'd get Botox done if I knew where to do it or could afford it. It's absolutely fine. It's funny. It's just funny. I'm not taking the piss. Billie Piper, I genuinely think, is a remarkable actor if you've never seen. I Hate Susie. I think it's some of her best performances. Yerma is on my list to watch. All respect to Billie Piper.
Penny Dreadful. She is great.
Penny Dreadful. I love Billie Piper. I've got Billie Piper framed on my wall. Okay, I'm the last person to be a hater. I really am. But for me, I'm obsessed with the lisp. My favorite part is they're getting choked on gash. And then the other bit is...
Did you say choked on gash?
Gash. That's getting choked on gash. Oh. And then my other favourite bit is none of this was meant to happen. And that's my favourite bit. Anyway.
I like at the beginning when she sees Donna and she's like, this is wrong. This is so wrong.
This is wrong. So wrong.
But the Doctor does it in the next episode. It's like, not a trace.
I think it's also... It's a stylistic thing. I think it's also like she's trying to get the Rose accent right, and it gets a little muddled. And there is like there's a choice in the acting as well. David Tennant does a bit of a whispery kind of whish. I don't know what that's about. They do it.
Maybe it's a
funny.
Little bit to do with that she knows that David does that, so she's trying to emulate that a little bit as her, like, you know, Doctor-esque character in this episode. That's giving a lot of credit where credit probably wasn't intended, but could be.
Yeah. Another...
Are you going to say something about Rose?
It's the Doctor and Rose.
Go for it.
So I'm moving slowly away from just talking about Rose now, because there's so much else that makes this episode special and I don't want to get stuck on it. But something about the Doctor's death is so interesting here as well, because one reading just says that, he needed snapping out of releasing all this water onto the Rachnos babies, and he didn't get out in time, and he just kind of needed Donna to snap him out of it because he just became too kind of angry and vengeful and kind of got lost in that moment and whoops, got swept underwater and couldn't regenerate and was kind of taken by that. Another reading says that, such academics, that the Doctor basically died because he gave up. So having just lost Rose in the previous episode, we have this kind of semi-suicidal Doctor who is like, you know what, done with this. I don't really care if I live or die at this point. And then the tragic part, well, that in itself is tragic. The really tragic twist on that is that, of course, moments later, who comes kind of running down the street to come and find him? It's Rose. And it's almost this slightly Romeo and Juliet moment of her just turning up a minute too late to be like, I'm back. Which is really sad, I think, is that also kind of, there's a good reason for him to die at this point, in a sense. It's not just a random accident, oops, this time the Sontarans got me. It's a sad, he probably could have got out, but he wasn't kind of really that interested in doing it.
When you think about the runaway bride, and when he's at the wedding reception and he sees the couple with the blonde lady dancing, and he just is caught in a trance and sees images of Rose in his head at the time. I'm low-key surprised, especially with at the time it was filmed, because shows used to love doing this, that they didn't have Billie in that day, do the dance herself and turn around, and then he blinks and it's actually not Rose after all. They just used the clip from School Reunion with Cassandra and Trip's body behind going but I think that if you imagine the runaway bride without Donna there, so the Doctor's doing all this and he's thinking all of these things without the distraction of Donna being the Doctor loves to unpick a mystery, and it happens a lot in Moffat's era, but it happens with the Doctor and Donna, and having that almost distraction, but also the mate, when they're on the segways before the whole Rachnos thing happens and they're just pissing themselves laughing at nothing really. If he didn't have any of that, and then like you said, Donna at the end at the last minute being like, Doctor, you can stop now, then he would probably just be at the brink. I also feel bad with things that have happened later in Doctor Who, that we're meant to believe that the Doctor felt the same about Yaz, and then the Doctor told Yaz I think I need to do this bit on my own.
I think I
off
need
your
to
pop.
leave.
Off your pop, darling.
Also,
Goodbye.
when I have done it, I won't be coming back.
Yeah, I'm going to do my thing, but
I
then
won't be
I'm going to go
telling you
find.
that, it's okay.
I'm going to go find Catherine Tate.
I'm going to find someone else.
Yeah, and
that's all right.
This whole 60th anniversary special will happen in present day London when Yaz is just up the road.
Yaz
in
is observing events. I'm really interested to see how they reconcile that.
They probably
I really don't know how they're going to make sense of that, because I'm not even sure that Yaz was in Sheffield last time we saw her. The companion support group that had quite a collection of people, including London-based Kate Stewart.
Yeah, but Graham set
see.
it up. Graham set it up.
I'd love to see Yaz back.
Did you see the actress who played Polly, who was a companion of the first and second Doctor, who the actress is still alive? She got asked, apparently, to be in that. A lot of people got asked to be in that scene. And she turned it down. And then she's quoted to be said oh, I heard it was only a one-day thing and they weren't there very long, so I'm just glad that I stayed home and tended to my brambles. I was slay.
No interest in the show. Fair enough.
Literally. I was good for you. Good for you.
Enough.
And then they're breaking world records with other actors.
It was only a day. The fee wasn't that good. I had better things to get on with, to be honest with you. Do you think I need the money? I've made my money. I don't need money.
And this does, not to go on a tangent off of Turn Left, but it does make me wonder just how much Chibnall paid attention to previous eras, and that apparently he originally wanted Jackie Tyler there on a Zoom call. Yeah.
I saw it made it into the script. It was who could be there on the screen? It could be da-da-da, could be maybe even Jackie Tyler. It's maybe.
She's calling from Palawan, maybe not.
Maybe she could be there. That's where the script editor's role steps in.
Can I talk about Rocco Colasanto?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Thank you, because I think he is such a gem of this episode. We don't get many new characters introduced this episode because of the nature of this episode. It's just a lot of revisiting past events. We're mainly following the Noble family with Wilf, Sylvia, and Donna. So we don't get that many new characters. And I think that Rocco Colasanto, who is the fellow refugee that's living with the Nobles in that house, amongst many other families, he is just a gem in this episode. He is so full of life, and you're meant to find him like annoying at first. Like they think they've got the house themselves, and then they find out they're sharing, and he's like, this is your palazzo, it's the kitchen. And then Sylvia's like, what about the bathroom? And he's like, nobody lives in the bathroom. And he's singing in the middle of the night, and Donna and Sylvia just have this really tender moment where they're saying, you know, the bees disappear and there's nothing there's no joy to live for anymore, there's nothing they can do. And then they hear, there once was a poor boy from a poor family. And she goes in the lounge and she's like, for the last time, I am telling you to button it. If I hear one more sea shanty. And then we like see a passing, and Wilf is there with like a pint, and he's like, I always love to sing some. And then Sylvia and Donna are singing there. And even like moments where like when Donna gets let out and the unit soldier's threatening her, it's Wilf and Rocco,
and they link arms to create a little barrier, and they unite over, I think, being veterans. And they have this like something in common. They're like mirrors of each other. Like they are kind of like the joyful older men who like hold the family unit together. And that makes it all the sadder when he's then sent off to his death, because you know,
Wilf
essentially
knows.
we've almost like just like lost another Wilf. It's just a way of humanizing that character.
It's the scene, the differences between how he interacts with Donna and how he interacts with Wilf is so poignant, especially in that scene, because Donna, we know she hasn't had like the like most in-depth education. She probably doesn't know that much about the World Wars, and he says to her, he's like, oh, you know, we're going to this place, they call it a labour camp. And she's like, yeah, but like, what are you going to do? Like, oh, you know, it's sad. Oh, I don't want to see you go. And he's like, sawing, digging is good. But then he turns to Wilf, and Wilf is like holding back the tears, and he gives him like a little salute. And like, it's just, I mean, again, we've already spoken about it, but I get teary every single time I watch that scene. There's not many scenes of TV film in general that do that to me, but it's just, Wilf saying labour camps is what they called them last time, and Donna's like, what do you mean? And he goes, it's happening again. And then Donna chases the van down, and she's like, where are you going? And that's the last time I would love to see Rocco pop up like as like a passing character in another episode.
I know, now he's alive, he should be fine now. God, I forgot we saved him. He doesn't die. Donna saves him too.
He doesn't die either. So Rocco's somewhere, probably not in Leeds, but somewhere. And I would love to like just, you know, maybe can I
go on?
If there was a scene in Shooty's season where he's walking down a high street and he sees a little like newspaper stand called like Wilf's Papers, and Rocco is running Wilf's paper stand, and he
don't know why that would have happened, but sure.
But the doctor wouldn't know who wouldn't know who they are. The doctor doesn't know them.
He doesn't know them.
I know.
That'd be nice. That'd be sad. Nice. But I agree. Yeah, fine. Justice for a Rocco cameo. I feel like maybe the writers have forgotten about Rocco and the fact that he's alive. I feel like we think of him as a character who's dead. But good tangent. This makes me think a lot about another kind of big high for me is the family suddenly becoming refugees is very interesting.
Yes.
And the way they become refugees within their own country is very interesting, and the way they are treated and effectively dehumanized. And it says a lot as well about obviously the way that kind of refugees in the world are treated. Yeah, I mean, the Leeds part, very funny. You know, Leeds, I'm not moving to Leeds. And then the stamp, and then immediate cut to like sleeping on the window looking sad. Like, going to Leeds is funny. But I mean, the experience of them kind of like lining up with their bin bags, and, you know, like the army guards shouting at them like, the Noble family, number 49 or whatever. And I don't know, it's something about like that experience as well for them, like having to sleep on the kitchen floor surrounded by candles, being kicked around a country like people who don't exist. That's what Sylvia says, like, we don't exist, we don't count, we haven't got a vote, we're nothing, Donna. Is really tragic, in the way that kind of like breaks Sylvia's soul, and the way that there's that real focus on Sylvia. is interesting. Literally at one point there's a shot where
Donna's
they
behind
specifically focus only on Sylvia's face, and it doesn't change focus to Donna who's coming behind her.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really interesting. And the change where, at Christmas, Sylvia's kind of like women that I know in my family, she's very like, oh, take those antlers off, I'll be classy. And he's like, no, I shan't, it's Christmas. But, she's a very like proud and presentable woman who wants to put on a real front to people. And that's part of, I think, why Donna embarrasses her. She wants to be able to say that Donna works for a nice firm and she's got a nice husband and da-da-da-da-da. And then when everything's stripped off Sylvia and she's lost so much, Donna's dad has gone, she's lost her home and all of her friends, everyone we know, and she's lying on the floor saying, every day I think of someone else who's dead.
You don't even see the bees anymore. Yeah.
You don't even see the bees anymore.
It's heartbreaking. It really is. I really like that you were saying about that shot. I know the exact one you mean. And she's not even quite listening to Donna anymore. She's not even hearing her. And Donna says, I guess I've always been a bit of a disappointment. And she just goes, yeah. And that's all she can really muster. She's just completely given up on life. And Wilf, I think, always has a little optimism behind him. Like, he says, like, a little bit of wartime spirit. And even Donna's like, well, there is no war. There's no fight. There's just this. And I think, you really see, I think that's part of the reason as well why Donna eventually chooses to follow Rose and go to UNIT. I want to briefly say about sort of in a mixed point, great to see UNIT, love seeing UNIT. I love that some of the same UNIT characters come back in later episodes, like in the real timeline. So we know they're not just parallel world existence, and we get a return of one of the soldiers who was in the Sontaran episode. So it feels like it's all very real world. But also I wanted to quickly touch on the Time Beetle, like as a villain. I think it's a fun gimmick, but I just truly believe, and I've said about this before on Wholala, that we're robbed of like a proper trickster storyline in Doctor Who, because this feels like it's obviously a precursor to the Dalek story, and like the stars are going out because of what the Daleks are doing, and it's a very much a precursor to that. Like that's why Rose is coming back. But you forget, like, this is a trickster story, really. The Beetle is a part of the Tricksters Brigade, as is the Soothsayer at the beginning. And I just, the Doctor knows who the Trickster is, and then he later even meets the Trickster face-to-face in the Sarah Jane Adventures. But I just feel like the Time Beetle... I mean, I get that the villain of this story isn't really the point. It's meant to be like a Donna and Rose story at like the forefront. Similar with the Husbands of River song, in the same way that, like, whatever the Monster of the Week is doesn't really matter because we're focusing on these characters, the Doctor and River. Yeah. I get that the Trickster might be a bit too big of a character to try and like weave a proper plot into this. So I completely get why they didn't go with him, but we need a Trickster storyline, because the Tricksters Brigade, do you ever see these videos on YouTube where it says Doctor Who's continuity is always on point?
Yeah.
They did one
the
for the Tricksters Brigade.
The
Tricksters had throwbacks to like they I don't know if it's retroactive or what, but in classic Who there's references to like the Tricksters Brigade and such. I think it might have been retrofitted to fit the character of the Tricksters in Sarah Jane Adventures, but even so, I just think we're overdue a Trickster story.
I hear that. The Trickster is a great and very powerful villain. I feel that now, because of the Toymaker coming back in the 60th, there's not much room for that kind of like meddling, powerful character to come back too soon. Because it feels like there's some overlap with kind of like the interfering that kind of level of villain can do with, like, reality bending powers.
And I have to watch like 15 series of Daleks or Cybermen series finales.
Sorry.
No, I get what you mean though. I get you mean like the role that the Trickster fills.
Fantastic villain. Yes, I totally agree. On the Trickster, on the Fortune Teller, you know what the moment where she goes in to have her fortune told reminds me of, or indeed where she beats the Fortune Teller and the Trickster's Beetle. That perfume advert that there was for like the Radiance perfume by Britney years ago, and she goes into her Fortune Teller and she's like, oh, no thanks, I choose my own destiny, and then
walks away. Like,
I love that ad as well, because Britney walks into a fortune teller's tent and it's like observing her crystal ball, and then she's like, no thanks, and it's like, why did you come in? Why the hell did you come in here?
Because they had to make the ad.
Really reminds me though of the way that Donna delivers at the start. No thanks, I'm happy right now, thanks. Love it. Love it. I'm happy right now, thanks.
The accumulation of the episodes, so once Donna's defeated the Time Beetle and everything, goosebumps. I just love when the Doctor's talking, he's quite like, he's there for Donna, and like I think he's just been through a similar-ish thing with Midnight where he then needs Donna to like talk to him and be there for him, and he's very much like there for her and like listening. But then, and as she talks, he's actually like, in a good way, like in a sweet way, he's quite dismissive. He's like, you don't have to worry about it. It's fine. It didn't happen. It's all good. It's gone now. It doesn't matter. And then when Donna's like, no, but she said it like happened in all universe. And he's like, who's she? Who's the woman? And he's quite like tender with Donna at first. And he's like, who is she? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, okay, well, like, what does she look like? And then when she says she was blonde, the Doctor's like, you can see like fear, because much as he wants Rose to come back, and you see this more in the next episode, he knows what that would mean. And so he's like, who is she? And Donna's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, Donna, tell me, like, what was her name? And then when she remembers that the words that Rose left for her were bad wolf, and you get this great David Tennant scared acting where he's just like, and then runs out and sees all of the bad wolf everywhere. And as a kid, seeing the TARDIS text say bad wolf just really shook me. And I remember being like really scared, because it's like the safety net, like the thing that I know is safe suddenly isn't safe anymore. And then when they open the TARDIS and it's all red, and I remember the last time that had happened, it was when the Master had like fucked around with the TARDIS and the cloister bell's going, and then Donna's like, what is it? What's bad wolf? And he's like, it's the end of the universe. And I just remember being shooketh to my core when that happened. And then we get the baddest, in a good way, next time trailer ever. And I think to this
ladies and gentlemen, we are at war.
Ladies and gentlemen, and we get like doof, doof, doof. Like as a kid, I didn't get to watch Torchwood, but I knew who they were. Seeing Torchwood, Sarah Jane, Rose, Martha, Donna, Alyssa, Melissa, Jackie, like seeing them all together, and then like Harriet Jones, like seeing Harriet Jones, I was like, Harriet Jones. I don't know if you did you ever hear the rumors that Harriet Jones was the Supreme Dalek, and in the finale it would like open the bottom half and Harriet Jones would crawl out? Did you hear that? That was like a proper rumor at the time. They thought the Supreme Dalek was Harriet Jones. Yeah, that didn't happen. But no, it was just the best next time trailer we've ever had in Who, I think.
That's so good. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching those clips on YouTube of the cliffhanger over and over and over again. I can still see the subscribe button they had in my head. No. Yeah, it was sick. Final highs from me for this episode. I'm going to rattle through them. Really quick points. A few things I loved that I've not mentioned so far. The spooky Doctor's theme. Oh, what a compliment just came through from Zoom. It said, playing music? Question mark. Yeah, I am.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That really tickled me. Oh, goodness.
I've never seen that pop up before. It's like, do you want to set up professional audio? No.
You're like, there is no professional audio happening here, honey.
No, there's not. And the only other piece of music that really stood out to me as well, not the only other piece, the piece of music that really stood out to me, apart from that, was the moment that Donna tells Rose the Doctor is dead. You get a few piano notes of the Doomsday song come back. Very, very good. Another high for me is just like the world building and continuity that goes into this. This all only pays off because series 1 to 4 really pays attention to its continuity. And like, yes, there's plot holes in this episode. Yes, there's things that don't make sense. You know, if they didn't go back to Pyrovile and Vesuvius and they didn't do all that stuff, like what would have happened? And it doesn't make any sense.
Don't even worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Like, Trickster dealt with it. Don't worry about it. We can fix that hole. Doesn't matter.
But the Trickster literally said in Sarah Jane, she's like, oh, what happened to the Gorgon and then this? I stopped them all. And he goes, I sent them all away. Like,
he sent them away.
There you go.
It's fine. It doesn't matter.
And by that point, series 1 of Sarah Jane had already aired. So we as the audience already knew that.
We already knew that. So it's not even a plot hole. But things like the fact that Ken Livingstone exists, for me, is funny. The fact that they really use BBC News and use real newsreaders. I like that. Your parents
didn't they talk about Corrie? Isn't Vera Duckworth from Corrie?
Probably, yeah, but like the pop culture references, even like the fact that like their world has like a degree of similarity to ours, love that. Greyhound 15 is back, like by name, like there's a unit soldier with the same name. That pleases me. The Thames is still closed off from the Christmas episode, so that's the reason that Donna is made redundant, is because her boss has lost clients because he can't get to the other side of the river. Like there's a real world consequence of an episode. That's great. Wilfred as well being one of the very few people who pays attention to aliens, the way that like in those moments that they're watching the news about kind of this hospital that's just gone to the moon and back, Donna doesn't believe it. And she's like, okay, chips tonight, last of my wages, my treat. She doesn't care about what's on the TV. Sylvia's not even looking at it.
Could be aliens.
She's like, this stapler's got B written on it. She's not even looking at that. Yeah. And Wilf is one of the very few people that's like, bloody hell, it's aliens, you know, and somehow he still sounds mad saying it, even though that is what it is. And the way they as well weave in references to Donna's father, you know, his absence is explained as well. He was clearly dying in universe as well. She says she's tired, you know, what with your father and everything. When they go on holiday, they say your father would have loved this. You know, there's references to him, which is lovely in that as well. And as you said, like when Sylvia's having her extreme depresso moment, she says, even the bees are disappearing. I'm like, this will come in handy later. Overall, the dialogue is magnificent in this. Everything that happens in the office is funny. Actually, I'm not sorry, Cliff. What do you do all day? And then, who typed this? I'm your PA. Did someone else type this?
He's
Beatrice.
Like, when he's firing her and she's like, I'll take it right. I'll take it right to try Bruno. And the first thing I'm going to say is wandering hands.
Wandering hands. Exactly.
She's fully threatening to say that he essayed her, and she doesn't care. She does not care.
Yeah, and the way that dialogue like bounces off, like, Donna, have some respect. All of these people have just, let me guess, the hospital's back.
Well, isn't that wizard?
Even in, you know, Sylvia constantly putting down Donna, it's funny. Like, some of the dialogue is really, really funny. Let me tell you, sweetheart, city executives don't need temps except for practice.
It's crazy how all this funny dialogue is in the same episode as like Rose being like, I was like you. I used to be like you.
Yeah.
Like, and then, money and howler. Yeah. Like, I just think it's so, like, you know, H.G. Clements hasn't come back to Doctor Who since Donna's first episode. And then it's like a core integral part of the finale. Like, it's so funny how he does that. It's that
consistency that threads through. I love it.
Yeah. I love in this episode, and this is my last thing, that we get a second Donna TARDIS reaction when she opens the TARDIS and she comes out and she's like, and then catches herself and goes like, and she comes out to Rose and Rose is like, what do you think? And she goes, can I have a coffee? And then for the whole of the following scene, Donna's like got her little mug of coffee.
And you know what I appreciate about that scene so much?
The steam.
I love that because it's cold outside. The TARDIS isn't this nice cozy place. It's cold in the TARDIS now. I wonder love how they did that detail.
I wonder how they did, because it was done in a studio and there would have been a lot
Studios are cold.
But no, studio sets are hot, because I know there's not that many lights, like it's a dark scene, but those lights are hot. Far too hot to have steam.
I think the way the light is shot with a bit of steam coming out.
I think they must have put a little bit of dry ice or something in the cup. And then, like, obviously you see that, because studio sets they can be cold with lights and with the crew and everything. They are not cold enough to be showing that. I reckon they put a little bit of dry ice in the cup.
This being the effect that dazzles me.
Exactly. Donna, like, fully gets time warped somewhere, and we're talking about the steam in the cup.
Yeah. I didn't mention one other point, which is that I like that when people in Doctor Who have low-level psychic abilities, like her friend at the start. Alice has psychic abilities, basically, because she can see the beetle on Donna's back pretty early on. People can see it on the street.
When you saw the ghost of old man batting at the boat show.
Exactly, but it's implied like, don't tell me getting spooky again. The fact that she does get spooky, for me, says that she's a bit like Tim, a bit like Gwyneth, characters we've seen who are like a little bit psychic, which I think is just like a cool in-universe Doctor Who thing. It's like a little bit of a psychic ability for some humans.
Psychic. Yeah, exactly.
Pretty cool.
I like that. Well, can I tell you something else I like?
Go on.
It's a little game. It's a fun little game. It's a little game that I like to play called Camp or Damp. So I'm going to give you 3 of the campest things in this episode, and you have to tell me, are they camp or are they damp?
Oh, I can't wait.
Number 1. Now let me tell you, sweetheart, city executives don't need temps except for practice. Camp or damp?
camp. So camp. Great delivery. I love this as well because it shows that Sylvia is where Donna gets some of her spunk from. Mm-hmm. Sylvia is so critical of Donna, but I think there's actually a lot of Sylvia in Donna's character. And Sylvia herself is quite sharp, I think.
I think so, for sure.
And yeah, it's a camp line. It's camp line. It's great. Camp.
The city of Leeds, camp or down?
The city of Leeds. I don't know if we can say it's camp. The rubber stamped Leeds as like a fate with like a haunting track underneath it as you're like, carted off to Leeds.
That's
very funny,
camp.
very extreme camp. Yeah. High camp.
Yeah. I'll take that. That's camp.
Yeah.
And finally, blonde hair might work on the men, but you ain't shifting me, lady. Camp or damp?
That's more like it. Camp. The entire interaction's camp.
I've got plenty more.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great.
It's really
I love everything when they interact.
I love it. It's so good. Camp. It's funny how an episode that is so like intensely harrowing can also be so camp.
So camp. They get that balance somehow right, and I hope and pray for more of that in RTV2.
They really do. You got any fun facts for me, Alasdair?
I do have a few fun facts for you, Sam. I don't normally deliver the fun facts, but today I felt it was time to do it. Now, we talked about this before. You already know this fact, but Billie Piper herself admitted that she had sort of forgotten how to do Rose and how to play Rose and how to do Rose's voice specifically. And she kind of panicked, even though she knew she was coming back once she got the call like it's happening. She ran out to the shops and bought a bunch of Doctor Who DVDs so that she could practice playing Rose, which is pretty funny. But I think you already knew that one. One thing that Russell T Davies kind of briefly considered was having an explanation for how the Doctor's adventures in the past would have not kind of ruined the world. So like with the Carrionites or the other things the Doctor does, kind of saving the world chronologically in his timeline after he's died, but in the past for Donna. And there was an idea of kind of UNIT having time commandos sent back in time to kind of put things right instead of the Doctor. But obviously this wasn't done. And actually, he felt it'd be too self-referential if the episode got kind of obsessed with the details of how, if this, then that, and if this, then that.
I think in an episode this heavy, you just don't, like how we were saying, if you really want an explanation, the trickster says, I sent them all away. That's enough.
It's fine.
Or, it's fine, don't think about it. You know what I mean?
Just don't think about it. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Don't think about it too much. Yeah. We say on episode 49. David Tennant was actually only required for 1 day of filming for Turn Left, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, a lot of this kind of very Donna-like story in Midnight and very Doctor-like story in Turn Left was done to accommodate production issues and the fact that we didn't have both actors available at the same time all the time. So they had to kind of like a mini crew go off and do this kind of cheap one with Catherine Tate at times. They had this crew go off and do Midnight with David Tennant at other times, which was quite impressive. And Catherine Tate actually had flu during production. Fun fact for you. Maybe gone a bit too detailed there for you.
Sad
fact. Russell T Davies said he wanted to pose a question to the viewer with this episode, which is, does the Doctor cause or prevent death? And said he was surprised by the implicit death toll when he wrote the script of how many people would die if it wasn't for the Doctor. So answering that question, ultimately, I think there's a net benefit to our hero there, which I agree. Final fact is one that I brought up earlier in the episode, which is this is the second time that Rose has been present at the death of someone she knew who ultimately died to correct the timeline. Both parallel versions of Pete and Donna are hit by a car and both die with Rose by their side.
Tragic. You know what? Russell wrote in series 1, and then he said like Donnie went, I've got plenty more.
Plenty more. Wow. 20 is plenty, folks. 20 is
plenty. What a corker of an episode, and it really does tantalise my taste buds ready for The Stolen Earth and Journey's End.
Oh, yeah, and we'll get there in a few weeks. If you can remember what the story was.
I know. We are, as we said, celebrating our 1-year anniversary of Wholala next episode, which I'm very, very excited. We're going to have a fun little chat. Maybe we'll have some drinks. Maybe there'll be some cake.
Yeah.
A nice little birthday party.
Cake.
I think there'll be cake. Is there a Doctor episode where they're like... let's have a little bit of Seki away from the mics so it doesn't like ASMR into the microphone.
Should we do ASMR Prosecco for an hour?
And yeah, no, we're going to do our celebration of Wholala 1 year anniversary. But then coming up after that, we will be looking at the 13th Doctor's era of Doctor Who as we lead towards the 60th anniversary celebrations, which we still don't technically know when they are, but we think we have a pretty good guess.
Yeah, we are riding everything on the assumption that the 60th anniversary specials start in the second week of November, the second weekend of November on the Saturday. So we could be wrong. We're assuming that's what happens.
We know it's not the first.
So we're assuming that doesn't lead directly into the first episode at the end of that. We could be wrong. It could be that night.
I'm trying to remember if it's on Friday, that watch along, because maybe it could be on Saturday. We're assuming I think it might be Saturday. We're assuming it's going to be the second, third and fourth Saturdays of November, because then the fourth Saturday I believe is the 25th, which would be the closest Saturday to the actual anniversary date. Yes. I've also had rumours they're going to be doing an airing of An Unearthly Child. Also heard rumours it's going to be in colour, which would be interesting. So I'm very excited to see what plays out. I'm surprised that the Radio Times, I mean, now's kind of the time they start putting their like Christmas schedule out. So I'm surprised they've not got to
hurry up. I don't know what the big surprise is. I don't know if it's my thing that they're waiting to schedule. Maybe they're putting me at prime time. You're laughing because we know it. We know it's not.
Can you imagine if your thing airs on the 60th anniversary, like on the Wednesday, like on the 60th
at
anniversary?
5:10 p.m. We're tuning in like, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? Oh my God, that'd be too funny. I'd actually have to like issue like a speaking my truth, issuing an apology.
Yeah.
But no, I'm over egging what my thing is, but I'm very much looking forward to talking to you all about it very soon.
Yes, me too. Well, before we get to all of those celebrations, I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wholala. As always, we would love to hear what you think. Please send us your memories of watching this episode for the first time. You can tweet us on Twitter /X. It's not /X, it's Twitter or X. Did you see on Big Brother where one of them said, like, it's on Twitter? And then the other guy was like, oh, it's X now.
Oh, yeah,
correct it. We're on Twitter and X, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Threads. You can reach out to us on all of those at Wholala Pod and let us know what you thought of this episode.
Yes, and if you're feeling very generous, we'd really appreciate if you could leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. It really helps us in various things, algorithms, rankings, finding new people to listen to the show. We really, really appreciate it. We read all your reviews as well, and we are always overflowing with happiness and pride when you leave us a nice review. The 1 stars we do find very funny too, so do feel free to leave one of those if it's cutting.
I mean, I would advise don't, but you know what, you do you. I can't tell you what to do. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week for the 1 year anniversary of Wholala.
Woohoo! See you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.